Well, we're off to another start today. Thank you guys for tuning in to Chifa Entertainment's podcast. We are thrilled to share with you guys a little bit about SnowTill. They focus on cannabis and a specific type of cultivating cannabis. So, welcome, Nate Landau.
Thank you for having me.
Of course, yeah. Nate and I actually worked together in a couple different projects for this year. So I had to bring him on, and I'm excited for him to share his personal story and his story with his brand. I think a lot of us will find value in that. And when you're out here in SoCal or NorCal, you'll know who to shop for. All right, Nate, where are you in California?
So I reside in Concord, California, and our facility is in San Francisco.
San Francisco. All right. That's not too far from where Emerald Cup's going to be. So I hope if you have a brand out there, I'm reminding everybody to get into it. It's their 20th anniversary. I've been to the 18th and 19th. I can't imagine what 20th is going to be like. It's a 2-day instead of a 1-day celebration. So I know you got some hot brand out there. So hopefully we'll see you up there competing. How long have you been in San Francisco, and have you always been a Cali resident?
Absolutely not. I was born in Toronto, Canada. I then grew up in Israel. I've lived in New York. I moved to California in 2015 to get into the cannabis industry. It was a year before the regulations started kicking in. So within 2 months of moving to California, I had a 10-acre farm in Weaverville, Trinity County, up in the Emerald Triangle.
All right. Well, that's that's quite a trip. Literally, what does your family say? Do you still have family out there? And well, obviously, times are tough right now. It's probably a tough question to answer.
But yeah, my parents, my aunt and uncle, I have a sibling, I have a few siblings, some nieces and nephew out there, some cousins. We try to, New York is kind of our focal point because that's kind of like the closest between Europe and the West Coast, and all the other places are my family's from. So we try to congregate on Thanksgiving in New York.
New York. New York's got a popping industry right now. It seems like almost all the events that I'm seeing, it's like, wow, New York's really, growing for cannabis. So that's pretty cool to have family in different states and all over the world. Me personally, I have family in the Philippines and El Salvador. That's my background. So as far as them accepting cannabis, I don't know where they at with that, but we won't cross that bridge. Very cool. Very cool. Thank you for sharing that. Today, I kind of want to share with everybody more of your cannabis journey and kind of what got you to being the co-founder, the founder and the CEO of SnowTill. So we'll start with how you got introduced to cannabis and kind of what your relationship looks like. And then we'll dive into, your brand and your brand mission and where everybody can support you. But before we jump into that, I always ask everybody about their morning routine, if they have some sort of background that elevates them now or pushes them to be more adamant about their health and wellness. Do you have anything that's like a non-negotiable, maybe a morning routine that, is like journaling and meditation, anything like that for you?
Oh, absolutely. I really believe because my commute's insanely long, I have to get up at 4 in the morning, but I still don't. I had to cut out some of my stuff, but meditation is an absolutely must. I try to meditate for 15 minutes, but at least a minute every morning. I have to eat my breakfast. I have a shorter and longer yoga routine, and I also make sure that until I leave my front door, besides checking the temperature and humidity in the grow rooms, I do not go on any news or anything. I keep that first hour to myself and not on the screen.
Hanging with the ladies in the morning is the best. I used to grow indoor. I used to have, the tent where I was flowering and then the mother's tent. So I pretty much maxed out my garage at some point. And that was so fun, waking up in the morning, making my coffee and just, checking on them and seeing how they were doing. Usually they were doing pretty good. So that was always enjoyable to see. Is this your own home indoor that you're talking about? Or are you talking about when you're working the facility?
Yes, I monitor. I have remote access to our cameras and all our humidity, temperature, and everything. So that's the last thing I do before I go to sleep, and the first thing I do when I wake up is just to make sure that nothing has happened to them. So they're my babies, so I want to make sure that they have the best life.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I can't imagine, everything that I've seen with the media today and what's going on with crime. You're in a hot spot area and having to make sure that you have a close eye on them, whether you're there and you're not there. Do you feel that that's increased in the past year or two, just with things that, the way things are going?
Our facility's built like a fort, and we have to pay. It's totally, they're worth every dollar, but we have armed patrols coming, checking in, and they're very diligent. I get emails at 3 a.m, clean your cameras or whatever it is. So yes, in California, in San Francisco, it's really bad. We're a cultivation, so cultivations don't get hit as much because we're not public facing, but dispensaries are getting hit, I would say, average of every 10 days. And they're getting more sophisticated and more balled in every time.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. I mean, now I'm seeing it on the mainstream media. So, it's growing. I mean, at least as far as the crime. Fair, luckily, they're not bold enough to get to, hitting the cultivation centers. Thankfully, you guys are secured in that way and you guys have that option. And like you said, it's worth investing in something like that, especially if you're, aware of the demographic that you're in. Wow. Now that you tell me that you're in San Francisco, I could ask millions of questions, but saying, let's go back a little bit. You did say that you guys protect it like a fort. I don't know. I didn't mention it earlier, but you are a veteran and I do want to bring that up. A lot of things that people are doing in the industry is to help bring light to the veterans in the community, or at least veterans that served in any country who we may have a reach in. And so to that point, I'm excited that you and I are working on the Battle Bros Foundation Gala that's going to be coming up in March. We're really excited about that. And I know with your background, you're going to be able to really touch and bring a lot of efforts to this. So you're a veteran from Israel. Is that correct? Is that how we would say that?
Yeah, I served in the IDF.
Okay. Okay. And is that how you know Brian Buckley from Battle Bros and HVGC?
Yes. So in May of 2022, I joined the Veterans Action Council. It was founded by Etienne Fontaine, the Berkeley's Patients Group founder, the oldest dispensary in the country, and Michael Krawitz. And they were very welcoming in Israel because everyone has to serve. I never felt like I was a veteran, but they're like, no, you serve, you're a veteran, you're welcome. And then that's where I also met Brian Buckley, and I had the privilege to lobby with all of them. And after spending 2 days of hearing his story about 15 times when we spoke to different representatives, I was like, wow, this person is really one of a kind, and his mission is amazing. And when any way I can do to help, I want to be part of it because he's really doing God sends with the Battle Brothers, and whatever we can do to help him, because he's really just trying to, there's not a lot of people that are so selfless and are, he's dedicating his whole life just to help veterans with their PTSD, because unfortunately the suicide rate amongst veterans in the U.S. is ferocious. He always uses a statistics that about 7,400 soldiers were killed in the global war on terror, where 31,000 veterans commit suicide every year in the U.S. So it's more dangerous to be on the streets of LA than it is to be in Fallujah or Hamid Valley.
Had him on my previous podcasts or my previous season earlier, and he shared the stories that not just himself have gone through, but obviously you guys who have toured or did that tour together I don't know if that's what you guys would call it. But I know you guys, seen a lot and been through a lot. And so what you guys are doing now as far as putting that to work here, as far as the foot grounds that you guys have a reach with the veterans, he has a great heart. And I know his intentions behind both of his brands are purely to move forward in helping with this opioid crisis and, the fight and the research that you guys are very much part of as well. We will go ahead and make sure that we put all the links for the gala that's coming up on March 23rd of this year. This is going to be in San Diego. And again, this will be to support Battle Bros Foundation's mission with the R&D with fight against suicide and opioid epidemics. So glad to work with you on that. To that point, thank you for sharing all of that and some of the background that you have. It seems like you have been through a lot and seen a lot. With that said, do you feel that cannabis has helped you? I know, veterans see a lot. Is that kind of what transitioned you to getting into the cannabis industry and learning about it and using it yourself?
I'll answer that in like two parts. So what initially got me into cannabis is as an 80s kid, I drank the Reagan Kool-Aid. Oh, it's going to ruin your life. It's bad for you, blah, 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 blah. And then my cousin came to visit, and he got into really good engineering school, and he really had his life together, but he liked smoking. And I was like, why are you smoking cannabis? It's going to ruin your life. He's like, how's it ruining my life? I'm an A student. I just got a good engineering school. How's it ruining my life? I'm like, well, you're making a lot of good points. I'm like, still, why would you want to do it? He's like, well, it will make you appreciate music in a way you haven't before. I'm like, explain. So I forget the name of it. It's a Green Day song from their first album. And I heard that song 100 times and knew every word off by heart. But he's like, what's that song about? And I'm like, I don't know. He's like, it's a song about someone killing himself and about to take other people down with him. I'm like, oh, okay. And that was like the first crack. And I really enjoyed it in high school. But then, once I joined the military, I had to go cold turkey. And yeah, definitely when I got out, I wasn't aware of my PTSD, but I just self-medicated, and it absolutely definitely helped. I would definitely say 4th of July for most people is a fun celebration, and I enjoy it, but fireworks sound like a mortar to me, and it really helps me to disassociate and remind me, no, I'm not anymore. I am in my house in California. No one's shooting mortars at me. So yes, definitely, absolutely. It really helped, and I only learned years later that it was cannabis, and that's why it's a big passion of mine to really increase access. But what got me into the cannabis industry is I really enjoyed it. I was an avid consumer and enjoyed it and everything. First time I came to visit California, my friend took me up to the Emerald Triangle, and I never saw a weed plant in my life. And my first experience was seeing in a farm in Mendocino with 3 greenhouses packed with cannabis plants. I was like, it took me 10 minutes to pick my job off the floor, but I went to the farmer. I'm like, aren't you scared? He's like, no, it's California. I'm like, okay, well, I need to get back here. And I was going to quit my job right then and there, but like, no, you shouldn't do stuff too hastily. But within a year and a half, I was an event planner in New York, and my soul just wasn't in it. So I decided to quit and pack my bags and move to California. And he said it was pre-regulation day, so it was much easier to get in.
Wow. Well, at least you landed in Emerald Triangle. That's a really good place to land in, that's for sure. That's really cool. I mean, it seems like it was destined. I know at first I know for me, my first experience, I was like, same thing, like, I don't want to smoke that. Were you here in the States?
When I smoked for the first time, I was actually in Toronto, Canada. And then I was like, okay, I'm going to try it once. But I remember walking in and looking in the mirror and saw my bloodshot eyes. And I'm like, nah, you're a stoner. You're going to do it so many times. You're going to forget how many times. And within a month, I lost count to how many times I smoked.
Canada. What is it? It was Canada Pro Cannabis. I'm not,
Yes.
where do they stand? They
Canada.
are.
Oh, yeah. So Canada is actually amazing. They've federally legalized it in 2018. They actually have an amazing program for veterans where if you're 100% disabled, you can go to any dispensary you want and you can get 3 grams of flower or the equivalent in concentrate, edibles, etc. And they fully reimburse you. I haven't seen the numbers for 2023, but in 2022, they gave $120 million worth of cannabis to veterans.
Are they specifically focused on the veterans? Like that's what allows them to move in that way because they're so focused in giving back to the veterans? Or
They're the largest exporter at the moment. Israel and Germany are the largest importers of medical cannabis. Unfortunately, they have to do this process. They have to do radiation remediation in it because there is no protocols of international export. So they revert to food safety. And unfortunately, it zaps the terpenes out of it. And what it does allow is mold and powdery mildew through. And so I'm not a scientist, but I doubt that smoking radiated powdery mildew or mold is not good for you.
Ooh, yeah. Okay. So everything's a go, but quality may be lacking in as far as how they're growing things there.
It is. They've destroyed. So in Canada, they have like a cap of how long your flower can exist. So if I remember the headline correctly, they've destroyed 5.7 million pounds since they launched in 2018 because there was just these mega farms that were having millions and millions of square feet of canopy, and they're like, Canada has 38 million people. California has 40 million people. So although it's the second largest country by land, it's a tiny. The population is really small.
I didn't know that.
And I just remember, like, where is all this product going to go? And so a lot of the big companies there that spend all this money are on the verge of bankruptcy, but it has opened up the market to craft growers. So my family is telling me at the beginning, like, they were they were excited for the legalization, and then got very disappointed. But in the past like year and a half, they have seen an uptick in quality.
At least they're working on quality now. It seems like obviously when it's federally legal, they have more, redlining everywhere and red tape that you got to figure out. But as long as they're focused on quality and craft farmers have a space, I think that will help at least, the consumer on the consumer level or anybody that's looking for medicinal. So I love to hear that. I had no idea. My soon-to-be brother-in-law is from Canada, so he's not pro cannabis, but I'll tease him about this now. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it. All right, so cannabis has obviously been something, part of your life and is part of your lifestyle now. How are things looking for you as far as a brand, and what got you starting, your own brand, and kind of like what kind of product are you guys pushing out right now?
All right. So like I said, I just jumped right into it. I never grew anything in my life, and I just went on a 10-acre farm. Like, I'm going head first. And I started with traditional agriculture, and it just seemed wrong to me because I was in this beautiful forest that everything grew around me perfectly without any human ever feeding it or spraying it. And I was just pumping all these chemicals into it, and the quality came out okay, but I was like, this is not it. And I started, as I got into it, I started seeing the writing on the wall. And again, this is 2015, so it's pre-legalization, but I knew legalization was imminent, and I know on a quantity level, I won't be able to compete on a quality level. And that's when I worked with my business partner, Joseph Snow's older brother, Avi Snow, in New York as event planners. And I happened to just give him a call, and he's like, yo, you should really speak to my brother. And then he introduced me to this concept called no-till living soil. And I didn't understand the science at all when he first explained it to me, but my gut right then and there was like, that is the thing that you need to follow. And him and I being business partners for, going on 9 years now. And we just decided, but we realized we did one run in Trinity County, and we realized that, it's very hard to network. Like, yes, it's beautiful, but it's a 6-hour drive to the Bay Area, and there's no reception there. So, someone's like, hey, I want to meet you. I'm like, well, give me 2 days because I have to get down there. So we moved to the Bay Area, and then we decided to do no-till living soil, but indoors, because the quality control you get from a controlled environment is just definitely not in outdoors. And even in a high-tech greenhouse, it's near impossible to replicate that kind of consistency. But the no-till living soil really allows the plants to maximize the genetic potential, because we as humans, we know our own bodies and we can barely feed ourselves properly. A plant that can't communicate with you, you can guess, oh, it doesn't have enough magnesium, and it actually didn't have enough calcium, but you gave it more magnesium and now you caused the nutrient lockout. And it's this endless thing where we build these ecosystems of our soil, and then the plant gets what it wants when she wants it. So especially on our terpene production, like our Pice Cream, this tested at 4.6% terpenes. That is the differentiator. I'm really glad that California finally got around to start combating the THC inflation. So out of the 38 labs that California have, only 12 are allowed to test flower. So hopefully we're going to, stuff that was testing at high 30s, low 40s are now going to be testing at low 20s or low 30s at most.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's taken, I think now everybody's learning that, at least to even when they're shopping, to what to look for. But I think even as growers or cultivators, whichever way you're growing, they are starting to pay attention to that. And it doesn't have to be so hot, I should say, is, for us, at least as flower goes. Okay, so recently I had somebody on from a sun-grown farm that does no-till. She broke down the no-till for me, which is something that I'm learning. No-till agriculture farming, but you're doing no-till indoor. Okay, so can you kind of break down? Does that mean like you guys are doing something to the soil before you guys start potting them, or is there a particular thing that has in the soil or minerals, or what causes it to be different from like a standard indoor brand cannabis line?
So the vast majority of indoor growers do hydroponics. So the plants are sitting either in Rockwool or other forms, but they're not sitting in soil, and they kind of get pumped with nutrients. Kind of think of the plants are in constant life support. So you're kind of force feeding them chemical nutrients. What we do is we use grass roots fabric pots. It's a 4x4 bed, and we have a soil recipe that we mix once, and it's about 120 gallons worth of soil in each bed. And it really allows, and so I'll break down the no-till living soil. So it's two things. The no-till is we do not till our soil. Most farmers do something to their soil. We do not touch our soil. We cut out the main stem a little bit, and that's it. Because the roots hold most of the nutrients, so we just let the roots decompose, and that allows us, within 2 days of harvest, we have our next cycle going already. So our original soil that we've mixed 7 years ago, it was in our mother room for 6 years. My fiance grows all her own produce in the backyard, and she's gotten 6 cycles of produce out of this soil that's now 7.5 years old, which pretty much giving it plain water the whole time. So it not only is it more sustainable, it also makes sense from a business perspective, because our nutrient input is close to zero. It's pretty much the mulch that we put into it. It's mainly just giving it plain water. So it really, it's sustainable, it's cost effective, and it produces a better product. Now, indoors is we have a full controlled environment. So outdoor cannabis, if you grow it outdoors, you only get 1 cycle a year. If you do it in greenhouse, it depends on your climate. You get 2 to 3. If you live in a perfect climate, you'll get 4. Indoors, we're already at 4 cycles a year, and we're working on innovations where we can get 4.5 to even 5 cycles a year.
Wow, that is great. I like the way you broke it up, but I just have to understand, just because I grow myself, when you say no-till, that's obviously like a style to understand. So what you're saying is like, okay, I use fabric pots as well, and I grow and I'm done. I harvest. I wouldn't pull it out, right? You're saying you guys just cut that and let that just kind of decompose into that soil, and then you guys would because it definitely dries up. So then you would just take that soil and
So we never let our soil dry up, and all our leaves and branches and sorry, I forgot the living soil part. So you can do no-till, you can do living soil separately. We do both. What living soil is, traditional agriculture with all the chemical nutrients depletes the soil of all life, where our soil, it's a universe in there with all the microbial life. And I would definitely say on our logo we have a worm, because the worms actually do all the work. They're the, I call them the quarterbacks of the soil, where they serve multiple purposes. So to give you a quick cycle of life, the plants have the nutrients, they use it up, they let it out of the roots, called exudates. Then bacteria and fungi eat that, the waste, and then it becomes readily available for the plant again, but it's stuck in their body. So the worm comes around and eats the bacteria and fungi, and then their body dissolves, and then that nutrient, once the worm exposes of it, the plant can take it up again. So that's why you don't have to really add any nutrients, is because it's kind of recycling itself. And then the worms do two other things. They aerate the soil, and they make it easier for the roots to spread, because they're making all these tunnels. So the roots just go in the worms' tunnel. So I would say the worms do a lot more work than we do.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy. So no-till is one part of a process of it, I guess. That's understanding that. But living soil is the other part. So not every brand does that. So like you said, an indoor brand could be either growing in Rockwool. So when someone says that they're growing in cocoa, is that still grown Rockwool?
Yeah, that's that's still hydroponics.
Right. Okay. So yeah, that's amazing. 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 Well, big ups to you guys. I don't know if I've had any of your product myself personally. You guys are in dispensaries, I imagine.
So we're about to launch our brand next month. It will be mainly focused in NorCal, but we are going to be opening up to SoCal as well. So our launch date, you are dealing with plans, so they set their own schedule. Like when I shut off the alarm on New Year's, my security company called me. He's like, "Someone's breaking into your facility." I'm like, "No, it's me." They're like, "You're working on New Year's?" I'm like, "Plans don't observe holidays." So
Yes.
obviously, we want to launch next month, but the plants at the end of the day make their own schedule. So, but yeah, so end of February, beginning of March is when we're launching.
How exciting. All right. Well, we'll make sure that we follow you and that we, share the word and spread the word about what's out there, because that sounds like you guys are going to have some fire specific genetics that you guys are focusing on, that you guys are going to bring to market.
Absolutely. So there's all these fads that come and go. And if you chase a trend, especially in cannabis, by the time you locate the genetics, get it through a grow cycle, dry it, trim it, do all that stuff, the trend's gone. So we try to focus more on this stable, good products, and we're trying to bring back older genetics. So we do a lot of OGs. I would say our pie screen right now is our hottest strain. We have this Motor Breath OG. We have we work. So I want to give this person credit. He's Mountain Organics. You can check him out on Instagram. I know for people that are new to the industry, there's so much information online, but till very recently, if you wanted any the only place you get information on cannabis was these closed chat room forums. And he started a thread 13 years ago, and he was the pioneer of no-till living soil in cannabis. And he's a breeder, and he gave us a genetics called the One, where it's been in a mother form for 40 years, and the genetics themselves are from the 70s. It's I believe the mother is from Thailand and the father is from Afghanistan.
Ooh, oh boy. Those
And
are some, I mean, Afghani strain isn't a super old strain that you don't even hear. So it's like, understanding the lineage of it. But oh man, I'll tell you, back in the day, that was my jam. So yeah, I can imagine that's heat. Can't wait.
I call it high school weed because I'm always trying to chase that first 10 times you smoked in high school, because although
Yeah.
I get high now, it's not the same of those first 10 times you smoked. And
Yeah.
the first time I tried it, I was high for 5 hours. I'm like, well, I can't remember. And it's really a generational divide. So like we grow the J1, it's a Jack Herrera cross, and people late 30s, early 40s and above, they see it. I don't even have to say the name. They recognize it and love it. try to give it to someone in their early 20s and like, well, it's not purple and tastes like candy, so we don't want it. And I'm like, okay, you don't know what you're missing out on, but you know.
Right. Yeah, Jack's definitely a oldie but goodie, and I have to say that comes with a particular grower as well, because not everybody can grow Jack, or to its like maximum expression of its actual strain. So whoever you're getting the Jack from, I think also makes a difference. So yeah, I'm gonna keep my eye out for that, and make sure that out down here in SoCal we spread the word, because it sounds like for me, I'm big in fitness, and that trickles down into the way I eat, my diet, what I consume. So when I'm seeing you guys take care of what you guys are growing the plants in, and how you guys grow it, and not, and it's important to be organic as much as possible when you're growing, I think, these plants, and the way you guys are doing it, I think you guys have a level up. So I am excited to give it a whirl. We'll make sure that when you guys are ready to rock, we will promote it and let everybody know where to find it. In the meantime, we'll make sure that your website and all of that is in our link description below. And if you guys are enjoying this conversation out there watching this, make sure you guys like and comment below, connect with us on Instagram and on our websites as well. Thank you so much for sharing that. I learned a lot about the difference. I've been smoking weed for a really long time, but now at this time and this age, I am being familiarized with the different techniques of cultivation. And so I think it's really cool to see everybody kind of really geek out in their own way as far as taking it to the highest level that they can grow this plant. So I'm excited to definitely see what will be popping, 2024. Anything that you have particularly going on as far as events? Will you be activated anywhere?
In my other hat, I'm very into the advocacy and lobbying. So I work everywhere from the local level all the way to the international level. So I will be going with a VAC delegate to Vienna in March for the UN Drug Policy Convention, and I will be going to Cannabis in Barcelona. I'm going to be at the NCIA's Lobby Day in May. And yeah, probably the Grassroots Fabric Pots, the company that provides our pots, are actually doing an event on March 7th in Nevada. So I don't think I'll be able to make it, but I believe my business partner Joseph Snow will be there. And yeah, and then I go to a lot of events, but those are the ones that are on the top of my head. We'll definitely be at the Emerald Cup, and we'll definitely be at the
Yes.
California State Fair, because I don't know
Oh,
if you
yeah.
know yet, but this year the California State Fair has changed the rules, and they'll be allowing sales and consumption of cannabis in the state fair. So yeah.
Ooh. Well, yeah, right. Wine and cheese has been popping for years, so let us in right into that. That's awesome. I think I've watched that event, or organization put that on, and I know they started opening it up to the cannabis, and they're able to have awards there. They were able to exhibit, but I think that was the tidbit that nobody was able to consume. So hearing that is really exciting. And on that note, I will want to ask you about what you think about the federal changes going on. Do you think, we have an up in that, or where's your stance on that?
So the only thing that we'll probably get is the rescheduling, and it could be
Reschedule.
so reschedule from it's 250 pages, so I haven't gone through all of it yet, but they released it unredacted last week of the HHS recommendation, and it was a breath of fresh air to finally see a federal agency admitting that cannabis has medical value. Now, the final decision is the DEA. I don't see how they're able to fight it this time, but the DA has stonewalled the cannabis community and industry for decades. So we'll see that, and that will have good implications. It will get rid of the tax code 280E, so businesses will finally be able to deduct their business expenses.
Oh, that's what that
But
was. Okay.
it starts putting us under the umbrella of the FDA. So, you know, there's a lot of stuff that you buy in the pharmacy that's a Schedule 3 drug, and it's going to be a very interesting way of how they're going to synchronize, because there's so many markets already in all these different states. How they're going to do it, I don't want you have your 6 plants in your garage, you're not going to, it's going to be ridiculous if the FDA is going to regulate that. Now, if you're going to claim that your product heals stage 4 cancer, then yes, you definitely should be regulated by the FDA. So it's definitely going to be an interesting thing this year. We're probably going to get some kind of announcement in Q2. Then there's going to be public comments. So probably the rescheduling will happen towards the end of the year. But besides that, unfortunately, because the new Speaker of the House is anti-cannabis, he kind of said that we can kiss goodbye seeing anything making it through the House, which is unfortunate because the Safer Banking Act, which is another really important thing for cannabis companies, has the last count 67 senators willing to vote on it, but they're not going to introduce it in the Senate till they know it's going to pass the House. And the unfortunate thing is that bill has passed the House 7 times in the past. So now the Senate's finally on board and the House is, and so I'll be hopeful, but unfortunately, I don't see much. The rescheduling will be huge, but I don't see that much more happening on the federal level this year.
Yeah, I'm not into the legislative part of things. I don't lobby. However, I always feel like once they figure things out for themselves, then that means that they usually have the hand up some way, somehow. So, I don't lean on either side. I believe in less taxes. I do, love the small businesses out there and everything that we do. So that's where I stand. And, hopefully it benefits us more than hurts us. But, I think a lot of people are kind of torn from both ends, whether you're legacy or corporate. They don't, I'm seeing all types of response to that. So I guess we'll just have to hang tight and see where it goes. Great answer. I know, you said lobbying was your thing. I think that's important for people with a voice, especially with your background and everything you're doing. You do this. Is this just California, or do you travel? Because I know you said you're going to Cannabis. Are you using your voice in that way as well?
Yeah, absolutely. As the Veterans Action Council, we have a unique voice that most other people in the industry don't have, so we can get into offices and have different meetings that other people can't. And yeah, I use, like I said, very active. The town next door to me is Walnut Creek, and the mayor there is just refusing to allow. There's a big retirement community with a lot of Vietnam vets. And I'm lucky to be young and be aware what PTSD is and all this stuff. But for the boomer generation, it's a little harder. And they don't want to order on a delivery app. They want to, they're used to going to the store and wanting to talk to someone and find out information. So that's one of my 2024 goals, is to finally allow Walnut Creek to have a storefront. Like, that community has a location already. Like we told the city, you don't have to do anything. You do zero effort. We'll do all the heavy lifting. This, please don't get in our way. Like I said, in California, SB 34, the bill that allows for donations, has a sunset clause. So we've been talking to the legislature, and it's going to get renewed, but that's a top priority there. And then on the federal level, still one of our top missions at the Venture Action Council is treatment by geography. So I'm in California. I'm very lucky I have access to a million different products, but we have a veteran in Wisconsin that he's a law-abiding citizen, so he doesn't want to break the law, and he doesn't have access to cannabis. And when you serve in the American Army, you're not serving your state, you're serving your country, so you should get the same treatment when you get home. It doesn't matter what state you live in. You should be able to have access to medicine no matter where you are. So we're gonna be beating that drum every year. And on the UN level, one of the things that people don't think about, but there's people that still get executed for cannabis. We just saw a guy in Singapore last year. He didn't even have possession of it. He just got he was messaging someone back and forth for £1.50, and he got executed for it. So on the international level, we want by 2029, no one should be executed for cannabis. So those are the top goals if I had to pick one on each different level.
Oh boy. I mean, it's one thing when we're talking about fighting, prisoners getting out and making sure that no one goes to jail for cannabis. But now we're talking about being executed. And I don't think a lot of us think about that because we are so privileged here. You know, a lot of us complain about shit out here, but we are privileged in so many different ways. And I want to go down the rabbit hole with that. But yeah, that's fucking crazy. I mean, excuse my language, but yeah, execution for a plant that, I mean, you know, especially if we're talking about Singapore, they use a lot of, herbs in their food. And if they would understand the correlation between medicine in that way, um, unfortunately, the plant is still demonized because of the propaganda and reefer madness, so there's still a lot of work to do. So I appreciate people like yourself using your voice and, your experience to be out there and getting in front of these people and reminding them that it's a plant and that it serves a lot of benefits to many people in many different demographics of the world. So cheers to you. I appreciate all your time and you sharing all of that and all the work that you do in our community. It's always great to be in the same network with people who are an asset to our community and not a liability. There's a lot of things that, the cannabis industry is fun. And so I love seeing people out there do a lot of the educational work. I'm all about empowerment, elevating and empowering people in the best way we can organically. So love that you're growing organically. Love that you're growing great weed and that you're an organic person. Before I let you go, can you tell us where we can find you as far as your website and connect with you on social media?
So our website is snowtill.com. Our Instagram handle is SnowTill Organics. And me personally, you can reach on LinkedIn at Nate Landau.
All right, you guys heard that. Make sure you guys check them out and give them some love. We do want to thank our sponsor for today, Fat Nugs Magazine. They are an independent creative company as well. They highlight the cannabis culture very organically. They, highlight events. They highlight particular cultivators. So shout out to Fat Nugs Magazine. Thank you for your support. And thank you all for watching today. We will make sure that all of Nate's information is in our description. But before we let him go, we do want to do 7 grams. It's our rapid fire. It's just going to help you have some fun before you end your night here with me. 7 grams with Chief Entertainment's podcast, our rapid fire with Nate Landau with SnowTill. Grinders or fingers?
Grinder.
Dispensary or plug?
Dispensary.
Very good. Floral or gasoline terps?
Gasoline.
Any particular favorite one that you have right now that you like that's super high in the gasoline side?
Motor breath. It's like drinking a cup of gasoline.
That's a good one. Bong tokes or joints?
Joints.
All right. Papers or leaves?
Paper.
Live resin or rosin?
Live resin.
Live resin. Is there a reason why you choose resin over rosin as far as process? Because I know they're processed different. I'm just curious because you seem to have a lot of science behind you. So hearing you say live resin is interesting. I just want to see if you have anything to say to that.
Yeah, I just like the process that it has very minimal. Because we do stuff so naturally, I want the stuff that has the least amount of processing in it and definitely no chemicals involved.
Gotcha. Yeah, a lot of people go back and forth with that. It just depends, I think. I just started dabbing in the past 2 years, and so I'm starting to learn the difference between the two and understanding, fresh frozen, fresh press, and solventless, batter, all the different names you see now. Where it used to just be like, hey, bro, you have wax. Now it's like so different. Okay, last one, Cheech and Chung or Half Baked?
Half baked.
All right. Also one of my favorites. I love Dave Chappelle, but that movie is definitely a classic. Can never go wrong with it. All right, that's a wrap for us today. We really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story and everything that you've done in the community and out of the community internationally. It's really fun to hear everybody's backstory in the industry.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, of course. Well, we'll definitely have to bring you back, and we're excited to see where we go for 2024. Thank you guys all for tuning in to today's episode. Make sure you guys comment, like, and share to help us grow. Please share the show. Peace, guys.